Okay, the camera still works. Good Monday morning, YouTube. It is 1:04 a.m., but you can probably already see that on the bottom of the screen if I managed to put that on there. This is a little bit different type of video. I'm going to try and do the timestamp thing, and let's see how much I get done at certain times today. Really trying to keep myself accountable. I don't know, I have lots of time lapses and things, and by that I mean like I just skip time sometimes. I guess we're gonna see how that works out. Here's my desk right now. First step, let's get that cleaned up. There you go. Mostly clean job is done. Let's get into the items for today. I didn't vlog a lot last week, but I did get reasonable listing numbers, 1,200 a day, and most of that I put up myself. Pretty much left with a bunch of reasonable, but mainly just kind of dirtier slash not super desirable items, or at least not super fun stuff to list. Should all be $40 in that kind of range each. I have all that stuff up here, and then I have like all this stuff down here. The key to this is just to knock it out. Let's get it going and listed. Of course, on my Wahoo Great Deal Stumptown Cold Brew Coffee to start off the morning. I'll have some more dealer here when he gets up around 6. But let's go for that, and let's get some items pictured and listed. I don't have anything pictured yet, so that's how it's going to work. And I guess first step would be to get all these monitors going right here, all opened up to the Google page, so I can go to the different pages, and my Lightroom window is open down here. Let me quickly check if I do have any of these actually pictured that I've not listed yet. Let me just go through these quickly, and I think I have one right here, Graflex Zeroflex. That'll be the first listing. We'll get on from there. Check this thing back through. It is ready to go. Minor haze in the viewing lens right there. The shutter does not work correctly. And those 2 strips of leather right there have fallen off. So they're right there, intact, but they're probably pretty crispy. I'm not sure if I'm going to include them or not. If I do, I'm going to put them in the film back there so they don't get all wrecked. So anyway, let's get that thing up and listed. Otherwise, in pretty nice shape, good for display. And of course, before I get into the listing, let's check the messages and get those answered. Okay, 2 more that either dealer needs to address or have to get his input on. 1 shipping question and 1 that I need an item for. So anyway, after that, on to listen to Zeroflex. Timestamp should be interesting here to see how long each one of these things takes. I had 1 question where the guy wants to buy 10 lenses that we have listed, so I had to make sure to go through, check each item number, and figure that out. So some of the questions take longer than others, but all in all, an important part of the business to get stuff sold. One thing I was doing in the mornings too is check sold listings just to see if anything interesting is sold. As you can see, unbranded, Japan-made Rolleiflex TLR camera fit lens hood. $65.15. It's pretty good for an unbranded lens hood. I'll probably do a sold recap later today if I remember to film that, but it's gonna be for last week and not the week before. I missed 1 week in there, but we did sell some pretty good stuff and it'd be good to show off. And there you go, just another taste of what we sold here. These are all within the last, like, I don't even know, 20 hours or so. Topcon RE Topcore N 135mm navy lens. This one's in pretty poor shape, still sold for 168 bucks. Next up here, rare, serial number 1001, or 10,001 I should say. This is the first of this lens ever made. Going to a Mamiya collector, presumably for $345. Good deal there, a really oddball one. It was adapted to a smaller format camera through a kind of welded on, glued on adapter. So just a real oddball thing there. We get them from time to time. Serial number 1 lenses, though, can be pretty desirable, just for collectors and everything else. Next up here, Canon Servo EE Prism Finder, 171.47. I don't know why that's shipping on it, but it did, so there we go. 3 more good sales within the last short while. Let's get on to the listing now. Getting distracted, but I guess I usually do this in the morning. And of course, speaking of cameras with an interesting life, I just had to show off this one here. I listed this on Saturday. As you can see, I put Rare and Alaska Press in the title. This is a Skyflex TLR camera, which is a fairly hard to find rebadge of a pretty commonly rebadged twin lens reflex camera, mid-level. And as you can see on the inside of the top cover, you'll occasionally find interesting things like this. This was owned by Carl Erickson of the Daily News Miner in Fairbanks, Alaska. Had some pretty good wear to it, and just a interesting camera to use as a press camera. in the 1940s and 50s. I believe this camera was released probably in the late 1940s, mid 1940s, late 1940s, somewhere in there, and was used as a press camera for a period of time in Fairbanks, Alaska. Very interesting. Always cool we can add some provenance / interest to cameras like that, and listed up a pretty affordable price, $140 for that one. Okay, listed up, and this is going to run the, I don't know, average price for this whole deal, $32.99 plus shipping. I did shipping on this one because it weighs 3 to 4 pounds. I think it weighs like 2 pounds something. So decided to put shipping on it, and also cheap price. Parts / display, Graflex Zero Flex 120 film TLR camera. There we go. Let's get on to getting the next batch tested and pictured. Let's get the testing and cleaning done first, and then I'll get the picturing underway. Took all the stuff out of that box there. Everything that's listable is now on this table. It looks a bit like a mountain, but that's about how it is. This right here is not necessarily worth anything by itself, or worth significant money by itself, but for the advertising on it, rather. As you can see, this shows a Nikon F Photomic. And I guess I could look a little bit closer and see if I could get any more details off of it, but I'd say approximately 1965, 67, somewhere in there. And that is going to be the reason this is worth something. And also made by Bogen, which also became Manfrotto later on. Yeah, so that's going to be probably a $50 piece right there, mainly just for the advertising and the Bogen brand name associated with it. Kind of interesting, because usually it won't be worth a lot. Next up here, this is a really cool piece. New old stock Kodak film pack adapter from circa 1940, if I had to guess. As you can see right there, amazing to find one of these in brand new condition. I will confirm that's in brand new condition here in a moment, but it really does look like it, so I'm pretty positive on that. A little bit of wear from being in a box for a long time. Thus new old stock rather than brand new, but Kodak film pack adapter, and let's see if it has a date code on there of any sort. And there you go, as you can see, August 1947, printed in the United States of America. The original instruction manual and the original film pack adapter in the original box. Amazing it survived this long, that's really cool. Usually these aren't worth a lot in used condition, but new old stock like this, it could be as much as $50. Next up here, I believe this is a mismatched box. I don't think the Suki M is actually a flash cable, but either way, there is some good flash stuff in here, and it's Leica. So that's going to be worth a little bit. As you can see, that cord is broken right here. So it's probably going to be a parts box. Either way, probably $20, and I'll probably sell it out of that box. I'll save the box for when we finally get one of those Suki M's. I have seen those before. It's an optical adapter, I believe. Next up here, we have a Minolta lens shade. If that was in a perfect world, that would be in there, and it would be new old stock. Unfortunately, it's just a deteriorated case, as is usual, and no lens hood. We have sold these before for around $15. People like the original boxes for completeness, the Minolta collectors, so probably $10 to $15 on that. Next up here, we have a standard fan flash unit. So generally worth about $0, but if you see on the front here, it says Minolta, so we have a chance. This could be worth actually some pretty good money. Either way, it is probably $20 and up. It says Minolta in that cool triangle font on the back. It says pretty early. Probably 1940s again. Next up here, we have a couple of these Nikon Nikonos underwater cameras. We had two really good lenses off there that sold for $230 each, or at least I listed them for that much. Maybe I listed one for $320 and one for $240. I don't remember exactly, but it had the chrome type lens on there, which is the really desirable and really good one. So that should be pretty good. We have two special effects filters right here. I believe both these are Hoya filters, and these would do some really crazy multi-effects. When I test these, I'll show those through the camera. So you get an idea what they do. We have a couple instruction manuals. I'm not sure if I'll be listing these or not. I'll have to take a look at which ones are worth anything there. I know the XD11 one is actually probably worth something because that was their highest end consumer model. And then we have some more of these interesting random flash adapters. I remember this exact one we sold for around $15 just the other day, so I will be listing that one. Next up here, it's unfortunate this finder is not in here because that'd be about a $150 finder. That is a Konica Koni Omega finder case, and that will go for probably 20 bucks. I don't know, somewhere around there. Next up, we have some lens hoods. This is a stack of them. You get that to focus at all. The one here is a zoom lens hood, not going to be worth a lot. This one, on the other hand, is for the MD 50mm f1.4, and I bet that even in plastic is probably $15 at least, if not 20. Kodak series hood, not worth much. Put in the lot. And then we have some really interesting items right here. This is actually worth more than you'd think. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe you know this stuff. Kodak Retina 2A camera instruction manual in really decent shape. That could be as much as $30. So there's a date code. Yes, March 1952. That is a Kodak Retina 2A instruction manual in really decent shape. Going to become an expert on Kodak Retina stuff because we've had multiple huge collections of them, and that stuff is absolute gold. We sold cameras for as much as $700 or $800. They're a pretty rare one. Speaking of which, as you can see, we still have some Retina stuff listed, but most of this is just kind of like, I don't know what you call it, the rejects of previous lots and everything else, and some modern stuff that I'm listing. You can see lens hoods for 50 bucks each, so those sell every once in a while. But the real thing is, I need to search RetNet. I should probably put Retina in the title too, just so it appeals where it can be found by that group. Try to type a blank keyboard through the camera right now. And here we go. I listed this on Saturday. Rare 1939 Kodak RetNet 1 Type 147 camera. This one does not work. Most of these do not work. Apparently had a messed up shutter mechanism, and because of that it was discontinued very quickly. Only sold for 1 year for a short amount of time in that year. The first model Kodak RetNet, and man, these are rare and desirable. A couple sold anywhere between $150 and $300. This is the only one listed right now, and just from past experience, the collectors are clamoring for these cameras out there. And here one is in pretty decent shape. You can kind of date it. That kind of cool stamp on the inside there, Kodak film. As you can see, we listed that at $389.99, and that should sell. That was a real find, and I was really glad to pick that up for, I think we paid 40 bucks for it because he sort of knew what it was. But that is a real rarity right there. Very, very cool. Going back to the pile here, let's see. We have a bunch of kind of inexpensive items that may or may not be listed. I just took them out of there. Like this little Minolta Submanager camera. I will sell these in lots. If it's an XGS, it might be worth something. But for the most part, these are not like Minoxes and really generally not worth a lot. Let me take this one out of here. Yep, that's the standard Minolta 16. They look pretty cool. They didn't have quite the same build quality as Minoxes, but very high nonetheless, especially compared to modern build quality. But they just really are not worth all that much. If I was going to sell this, I'd probably sell it for like $10 plus shipping. And I'll have to see if it is worth that. If it is worth that, I'll probably list it up. Otherwise, it'll go in a lot. That's how I like to sell these usually. Sold a pretty big lot of cameras and accessories. Minolta 16, I think like 6 cameras or something for 80 bucks. Sold super quick. So they do sell a lot, but they do not sell super great individually, or at least just not for a lot. Really fits under the same thing as the Minoxes, overproduced, mass-produced, and the film is not made anymore today, so it's hard to use them. Okay, next up here we have another really interesting sealed new old stock item, or I was going to say not quite sealed. As you can see, the tape has lifted up on that side, and that side's cut. But if I actually open that up, it's in the original foil pack. It's a Traxpan Professional film pack from around the early 1950s. Let's see if I can find a expiration date on here. Okay, not quite as early as I thought. This was made in the late 1960s. These expiration dates were generally around 7 years out, or something similar to that. I don't know, it's hard to tell. Kodak Traxpan Professional film pack, 60 exposure, sealed in there, or I should say not sealed, but brand new, sealed inside there. And that'll sell fairly well as a collector's item. So they'll put that box in their shelf, along with their medium and large format cameras. I should say large format, because 4x5 I believe. And that'll go, I don't know, 20 bucks, 20 plus shipping, somewhere in there. Have some Graflex backs, those are always decent. We have an OM winder there, those are always good. We have a OM2 somewhere in here, SLR camera. I'm not sure, it might be in that stack. That's a Pentax, and below that is some other Russian camera, which actually isn't worth barely anything. Russian cameras are overproduced, and they're still being sold from Russia. Like, there's a lot of them ended up in Russia. So, not worth a lot. As you can see, Olympus 2N, OM2N. This one does not work correctly, I already tested it out. But still, for parts, worth a bit. Have a variety of folding cameras here. There's 2 there. Have a bigger one right there. Have a smaller one back in there somewhere. And those all sell, not for a ton. Good home decor items. And as you can see, we have 2 Polaroid backs under all that. So anyway, that is an overview of the different items. Like I said, I'll show you a view through the special effects filters once I clean those. But that's going to be about it. We have 2 Adaptol lenses, not worth a lot there. And Olympus grip, which some of these are worth something. Most of them aren't, so I'll be interested to see what that goes for. Let's get this batch cleaned and tested. That's probably going to take a little while. There's quite a few items here, probably around 35 or something. And I forgot to mention, not sure why this ended up in my office. I thought it was just a normal piece of cardboard. I'm glad I didn't throw it out. Of course, there's Rolleiflex inside. This is a very rare Rolleiflex shade for the hood. And as you can see, it did say do not bend somewhere on here. I think on the other side. But we did bend it because I didn't know what was in there. So, my fault. Luckily, it is pliable and was not damaged majorly by that. I could probably take out that crease even. Rolly F&H. And that's probably worth over $100. Pretty rare. It's been sitting around my office forever because I put it in here and then forgot what it was. I think it was just a cardboard box for some reason. And there it is. That'll be a pretty good item to list also. Basically like the old-timey cameras, this would go over your Finder hood so you could look down it in very bright situations. Quite a rare piece if I remember correctly. And really nice shape. Yep, that is a very rare piece. There's one a little bit worse shape, listed at $145. I couldn't find any sold, and it's sold by Rick's Train. So not even a camera seller. That undoubtedly is going to be an over $100 piece. Very rare. I almost forgot that I had that up there, so it's good that I remembered, so I can get that listed. I think we ended up paying up for that because this came from a guy who really knew Rolleiflex stuff, and he said this is a rare piece. I think we paid 40 bucks for it, so it's not going to be a huge profit, but I think we'll get 150 out of it, and that'll be pretty good. It's too musty, and the case inside is kind of bad shape too. It would probably go 15 bucks, but I'm tossing it. Bogen Voss filter holder sold $14.95 free shipping without the box and $9.99 at auction, which is a horrible way to sell that with the box. Put Nikon F in the title, put Bogen Manfrotto in the title, and that is 40 bucks at least. So the original price that was $17.50 in the 1960s. It's kind of a conundrum to try and get figured out. This is a Nikkor Japan underwater camera filter adapter. It does have a minor issue here. This thread is broken right here. Let's see. Nope, this one right here. I'm sure you're going to be able to see that or not, but that thread does flex there a little bit. It's also a plastic adapter, so very, very fragile, or at least assumed to be. It had a filter stuck on it, and it's not a Nikon filter, so that's what I do to filters that are stuck on there. Very careful use of a screwdriver to pop the retaining ring off, pull the glass out, and then a very careful use of a clippers to try and remove it from the plastic enclosure. It went well this time, and that's probably worth like $30, even in that condition. That is a piece that I've never seen. I'll let you know later on if I can find it, and how much that's worth. But the repair was successful. Also, I mentioned I'd show these special effects filters here later. Stuff I find that kind of funny. Atena Trix Series 6 trick lens. Apparently this is a trick lens. Here you go, you have been tricked. Look at this trick. Let's see if it'll focus. Whoa, look at that trick right there. That's quite the trick. So to clean that up, but as you can see, it is a strange tri-image lens. It's actually tended to sell pretty well. People seem to like those. Sold some for as much as $50 for some of the Hoya ones in mint shape. And speaking of mint shape at Hoya, there it is, a multi-vision filter. Put that on there, you can see you have 5 images now. Whoa! Try that in the selfie camera version. Look at that. That's pretty crazy. Super crazy multi-image. Pretty good money. Oh, there you go. Go really close up too. Kind of fun. Effect for videos and stuff. As you can see, if we take a quick scroll through the Zorky listings here, first of all we have 114 sold results, and if I scroll down here you can see that 99% of these are from the Ukraine. They sell a ton of these cameras. Luckily, this one, or I should say these ones, are a little bit more desirable than most of the ones I've seen. Must be a little bit higher end build or something. A lot of these are not even worth selling. The lenses aren't worth selling, the cameras aren't worth selling. They sell them by the 100 for 10 bucks each. These ones, on the other hand, will probably go for 30 or so each, even for parts. So I'm going to list probably these two in a lot for $59.99, free shipping, or something similar. But in general, Russian cameras, they overproduce them. They're very high quality cameras. They're Leica copies. And they're sold by the truckload from Russia. So anyway, I guess that marks the end of the sort part of the listing here. As you can see, everything left here is going to be listed, and it's ready to be cleaned up and tested. and get a count here in a minute too. My count should be right around 51 items here, quite a few. And actually 54 if you count the Rolly hood and those two. Well, here's what's inside one of these old fan flash units. Thought that might be interesting. As you can see, there is the super high voltage battery. I actually don't know how many volts this one is right here. There we go, 15 volts. Some of these were as high as 30 volts. And basically you had a battery, and this one actually says it's meant for 22.5 volt batteries, which is kind of odd because that's a 15. But that's the one that came with this. As you can see though, 22.5 volt battery, goes to a capacitor, charges the capacitor, and then your flash bulb goes right there and will pop pretty easily. The interesting thing with these flash bulbs is it really didn't take that much to trigger them. I know I used to be able to do it with like a 1.5 volt battery or a 3 volt battery, so I'm not sure exactly why they needed all this different circuitry and high voltages and all that, but that's just kind of how they did it. This is the Minolta one. Let me put the front back on it. This one's actually a bit different from a lot that I've seen, in that actually the batteries load through the front. You can see on the back here, pretty clean. On the front, you have your fan, which let's see if I can actually do all this one-handed. I'm not sure. But basically, you just move this thing all the way around. From the back, you can kind of see it there. And then once you get to the closed position, there should be a small clip. That is kind of clipped right in there, and there's your opened fan flash. Put your flash bulb in there, and that serves as the reflector. A lot of people don't use these anymore, and for the most part they are worth about $0. But for display, and being Minolta, I bet this one's going to be worth some money. In general though, rule of thumb, fan flash unit equals no money. Doesn't matter what brand it is or anything. But that being said, there are some rare ones. We've had some rare Nikons and some rare Canons, so it's changed my opinion about these a little bit. Let's look this one up and see what that one's worth. And here's why that rule of thumb. Luckily, this one does not seem to be super common, so I think we'll get a few bucks for it. But most of these, well, let's see. So far, I'm only seeing those larger size ones. I believe that one right there may be the same one. I'll have to check that here in a minute. And that one at the top might be the same one. But as you can see, one sold for $6.39 free shipping, and no other one sold. So with really good pictures, etc., that one might be worth $20 to $25, despite being really cool and from the 1940s. You won't find a camera accessory from that age, and for a brand like that, for any cheaper. Very interesting that most of these flash units don't go for anything. That being said, we did sell a Canon fan flash the other day for $300. So actually, it's not all of them. It did change my mind a little bit, but for the most part, worth about $0, despite how cool they are. They overproduced them, and they're not usable today, so for display only. And here's an example of a very, very well-used camera, or at least slightly abused camera. I guess there's really a difference, because we have had some that are literally just worn down like crazy, but don't have any major damage. This one, on the other hand, has been damaged. It's a Voigtlander Vitoret DR. As you can see, the quick wind handle for the rewind is missing, and also looks slightly dented there in the top. And over here has sustained a major hit. It also has a replacement screw there, and a pretty original one right there. The meter does not work. It has some pretty bad damage right here that looks like it's been repaired slightly. And surprisingly, the shutter still works. So I'd say it's just an abused camera. I have to look that up and see if it's even worth anything. I already cleaned it up, but that didn't take very long, so let me look it up quick. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll send that down to LotUp/Lotso Camera Stuff, which is dealer's channel where he sells a lot of the inexpensive stuff. They sell for up to like $34 in pretty nice shape. And as you can see, for the most part, they sell in the 10 to 15 plus shipping range, which in this condition, it is not going to sell well at that. So let me send that down to the LotUp tote, which is down there. Just got an interesting case in field testing on the Olympus OM2N. From initial test, it did not seem to work, and I have not done the full test yet, but I will be here shortly. As you can see, this has a bunch of different shutter speeds around the outer dial there, and this is a fully electronic camera, at least for the most part. I'm going to double check this, but I'm pretty positive the B on here is a mechanical speed right there. A lot of cameras have these, even if it's electronic camera. This thing, if I switch it all the way to the B side, which there is a bulb lock, as you can see there's a small button right here that will lock this from going into the bulb position unless that's pressed. And as you can see, shutter reset, because that is now a mechanical position. And if I wind it, as you can see, there's your issue. So the mechanical on this one does not work correctly. There it did. Try it again. now it's working. So I'm not sure exactly, but it was having some issues initially. So I will have to fully test that and figure out exactly how it works. But for all our speeds besides bulb, you will need to put a battery in the camera, but that can be a good quick field test on a lot of electronic cameras that do have that mechanical speed. Usually they have 1 or 2. A lot of them will have a flash sync, which is 1/60th of a second, and they also have a B speed, which will be fully mechanical and testable without a battery. So now it seems to be working. It may have just been a weird glitch or something, maybe just warming up the gears. So I'll have to fully test that and figure out exactly if it's reliable or not. I find this pretty interesting when trying to put a battery in this camera. This being the OM2N rather than the OM1, it uses a different battery. The first OM cameras actually used a battery like that, which was a PX635 battery, I believe. But the new ones use the much smaller 1.5 volt times 2 battery right there. And as you can see, they use the same battery compartment, but it just put a little spacer in there. Some interesting camera design stuff there. But anyway, looking to get a working battery here. This first one did power the camera, but on the battery check setting, it was showing red and needed replacement. So let me find another one of those that works and test it out. Okay, and there are a bunch of batteries that do not test out. 3 of those are almost completely dead, and the one there works slightly, but is out. I have some brand new ones right here. As you can see, Energizer 357 silver oxide. These are the single 1.5 volt type, if I'll focus, as opposed to the double 3 volt type right there. Both those work well. 3 punched out. Let's get these 2 brand new ones out, and let's try this out. I picked these up on Amazon, and they're fairly inexpensive. Really good for testing most types of cameras. And if you look around a little bit, you can even find an adapter to use with these old type batteries. This is basically just a 357 type cell with a ring adapter around it, but that ring is necessary for function. I do have one of those adapters. And I will caution you, with certain older cameras that cannot deal with the higher voltage, 1.5 volts versus 1.35 of these, and the meters will be slightly off. So I don't know. Do as you will with that. But let's try those 2 batteries in there. Those are the correct ones for this camera. Let's get it tested out. And really good news in this camera, it does test out. Here was the problem that I was not doing before, and the reason it took so long for the bulb to work correctly. I had to go into the reset mode, and that would flip down the mirror and done everything for me. So instead I was going to bulb, and that was kind of manually resetting it. It did not like that, and obviously it took a little bit to get it to work right. If you do go into the check mode here, check/reset, you can see the red lights, meaning that it works correctly. And if I carefully try and wind this one-handed, kind of risky, but I'm careful with this kind of stuff. And we have it set on 1/2 second. And of course, you want to switch out of auto mode here, not to off, but to manual mode. So this ring out here is active. Test the meter here in a second also. If I press the button, there we go. That works correctly. The electronically controlled speeds do work. And if we switch back to auto, let's see if I can get a view through the finder. I'm not sure I'll be able to here. I'm a professional one-handed camera operator, so I do not suggest doing what I'm doing there. But let's see if I can show through the finder here. Yeah, there you go. It'll focus. And as you can see, if I half press the shutter button, go up to about here, that should show you. That's where the meter is showing. So I'm going to test this against some other cameras and see how well that works. But it does respond to light and seems to work correctly. If I go down to about there, it should fire. That didn't fire right. So the auto speeds may not work. Let me test that out more. Might be an aperture control thing or something. Might have to have a lens mounted. Yep, and even in manipulating the aperture controls there, this one does not work on auto mode. So that's interesting. Shouldn't actually be a big deal. A lot of people want to shoot these manually. So, just have to mention that listing, manual mode only, probably listed up at $79.99 or similar. Pretty good camera. Has some minor issues though. The meter does work correctly, it just does not trigger the auto speeds correctly. These early electronic cameras, this one's from the mid-1970s, had some pretty significant issues or had potential for it, just because of the nature of their electronics failing and all that. So anyway, it works out pretty well, but only in manual mode. And also surprisingly, I don't think I've mentioned this all that much, but how do I get all this dust out of these little crevasses in the camera top plate? As you can see, there's dust everywhere, and I suspect if I lift this right here, This one actually isn't too bad, but on chrome bodies you can probably tell a little bit more. There's usually a lot of dust collecting under there if it was a dusty camera at some point. But either way, how do we get all that? Well, my two biggest used things are rubbing alcohol, microfiber cloths, and cotton swabs / Q-tips. I use a lot of Q-tips. A little pile right there of used ones that need to get thrown in the trash. And on top of that, if I really need to get in somewhere tight, I'll use a microfiber cloth, a nice thick one, and a blade head screwdriver. So, just a variety of tools, along with an air blower to get rid of all that dust. Here's what it looks like before. It's kind of hard to see on the black body there. And there you go, all cleaned up. Looking nice and shiny, not a speck of dust to be seen. Fully cleaned, ready to list. Also have a body cap to go on there, so that'll be pretty good. This is an odd situation. As you can see, this is a chrome Spotmatic with replacement black bottom plate. I have to see if that actually goes for anything. I might just remove that and the battery door and sell that separately. And also the rewind knob, which is the same as the K1000, so that'll go pretty well. This camera is for parts. It does not work correctly. As you can see, it will wind and fire, but first of all, the mirror doesn't come down, and secondly, that there is broken. If you look down in there, it's really hard to see, but the shutter curtain on the other side will come out a little bit and is at an angle, completely messed up there. But like I said, kind of a franking camera, and I think I can take some parts off here to sell for around $30 to $40 combined, and just put that in the parts slot. If you open the back there, you can see how that shutter curtain is open and not coming out. Definitely not working correctly. So there we go. And that'll be a no. You just never know though. Sometimes if it's a Canon or a Nikon or something like that, the black colors were a lot harder to find and those could be worth pretty good money. This one though, probably just take the rewind knob off there, sell that separately, and then put that in the part slot. Okay, as you can see, it's a Graflex 22. It is slightly disassembled here because I just did that. And I'm cleaning this up. This one was really poor shape. I have not cleaned the lenses yet, but I've cleaned a bunch of the dust off. As you can see, there's a bunch of grime accumulated right there, and that's the reason I took this plate off, to get a little bit better access at that. Also, all these screws here look pretty rust-free, but if you look at the screw tops, they look just like these ones right here, pretty rusty. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to remove those all and give them a very quick dip in some salt and vinegar. That will remove the rust very quickly. And that'll look a little better in photos and everything else. Other than that, camera's in decent shape, just a little bit rusty and in, I don't know, well-used shape. Made these for quite a number of years and quite a variance of models, all about the same. The Graflex Twin Lens Reflex camera series. There's a few that are worth a little bit more than others, but for the most part, these are not super valuable cameras. Nothing like their actual, I don't know, press camera lineup of Graflexes. But they're somewhat popular, and this one, even in decent to poor shape, like the one I listed earlier this morning, if it works, it's probably worth like $50. If not, probably $30 plus shipping, somewhere around there. Okay, so we got to see how all this works, because I only discovered the other day, but basically take some white vinegar, and I put some Epsom salt in there. It does seem to work with that type of salt, even though most people say use sea salt. Basically mix it until it dissolves into the water. Once it stops making kind of those salt noises, it should be ready to use. And basically this will just remove rust pretty quickly off different parts, just like those screws that I showed before. Also has the interesting effect of shining up pennies, which, let's see if I have a dirty one around here. I can show you that quickly too. And there you go. That's pretty much completely stirred in there. You can still hear a little bit of that salt on the bottom, but it should be able to dissolve completely. And we're just about there. It's kind of a cloudy liquid. It will clear out shortly too. But as you can see, here's an averagely tarnished penny with some pretty major rim damage. Let's just quickly put that in the solution. See if I can set my camera right there and see if that'll do kind of a live demonstration. I'm gonna put it in there for a couple seconds. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'll remove it from that solution. It's quite a bit cleaner of a penny. Tarnish has been removed, and it's pretty much just the sort of natural copper color. So that's kind of an interesting side effect of this. If you leave it a little bit longer, maybe swoosh it around a little bit, it'll possibly even get a little bit shinier. This one's not reacting quite as crazy as some that I've seen, but that's another thing with the solution. As for rust removal on these screws, there's before, and we'll see after in a minute. I'll probably also take a Q-tip and rub some right on there and see if I can get any of that rust to come off. but it should make it significantly better with just a small application. And there you go. As you can see, this is working very, very well on some of these. That one is pretty much rust free. On some others there that I left in there a little bit longer, it's not working quite as well, and probably just needs to be left in there for a little bit longer. So anyway, just kind of cycling those through as I continue cleaning this camera. Got all the dust off of it in various places. It's not quite as dirty on that side there, and just about to get to the optical cleaning. Okay, so after testing this camera, it is definitely going to be a 4-display camera. The lens is there in pretty poor shape, and the shutter does not work correctly. But as you can see, the rust problems are actually working pretty well. This is definitely more of a science experiment, chemistry experiment type thing, more than an actual thing I'm going to be doing on a lot of cameras. But as you can see, there was a lot of rust all the way around the perimeter there, namely on those pieces right there also. And a lot right here on the film area. As you can see, there still is a little bit, but that solution there is doing very, very well. On the top, it is not doing quite as well, but it's quite a bit better than it was. I'm going to apply one more time, wait a little bit, and also I'm going to wait a while on those screws to fully clean that up. Also apply a bit more on this piece right here. But all in all, it is successful, though it's not something I'm going to be doing on a lot of cameras. We don't get a lot of rusty cameras, and it's just an interesting thing to try out and see how well it worked. It definitely does work, but it does take a little while. I'm doing some other stuff here while I'm waiting for that. I'm done with about here over testing and cleaning. So have a couple more after this and I'll be done with that. And there you go. That really shows the difference. The piece was pretty rusty before, and now after a quick wipe down, it's still pitted chrome, but most of the rust is gone. That solution definitely works pretty well, but like I said, won't be using it a lot. Good thing to try out. Okay, and all of the cleaning of the different cameras is done. They are now ready to photo. As you can see, the cleaning on the screws was kind of hit or miss. It didn't really work. A couple of them there are a little bit cleaner, but for the most part, still pretty rusty. That one turned out pretty well. So I'm not sure exactly. Cleaning of the camera body worked a lot better. Good little experiment. Not sure I'll be using it too much more than just right here, but it turned out pretty well. As you can see on the back there, that part is really rusty, and it cleans up surface rust very, very well. So there you go. That one's ready to go. Along with all of this, let's get it pictured. Okay, took a break for a little while. Coffee number 2. And here is a very cool piece. I was just about to photo this, but I decided to double check what this is worth and if I can find it. I was expecting this to be kind of a generic type belt clip. I didn't see any names super apparent on there. I mean, you still can't really see any names. You know, you look around it. So I was going to list that as unknown belt clip. I don't know, 25 bucks, something like that. But let me unscrew the screw from the tripod socket here and show you what I found. Camcraft, Madison, Wisconsin. And basically the backstory on Camcraft. Norman Goldberg was an inventor at Leica, and some sort of guy like that. He worked at Leica in the United States, and he invented a bunch of very famous and very rare Leica accessories, including a high-speed motor drive for Leica, which currently those go for anywhere between $15,000 and $30,000. And also this finder system to go along with it, which was a, I don't know what you call a sport finder type thing, pellicle sport finder. I don't know, it's hard to describe. I could look it up. It's a modified VisiFlex basically. We found one once. We paid $50 for it on a whim. No idea what it was. Didn't think it would go for that much. Ended up selling that for around $3,000 in not that great a shape. It had some scratches. It wasn't complete and all that. So that's just super, super insane. One of our better buys. And basically, this was one of his most successful, most commercially successful products right here. That being said, Camcraft, Madison, Wisconsin. These were all machined and handmade by him. These were the first ones they came out with. Eventually, it was mass-produced. I don't know how many they made of this one. Let's say they made 500 of this one, and they made like 30,000 of the mass-produced ones, at least. So the mass-produced product right here, the TPI Remo clip. I don't know why they're asking so much money from Austria here, but there's one sold for $27.50, and there's ours listed at $63.17 for a Sci-Flex, totally different camera, a different one by the same company. But anyway, you look at listed here, you have $166, and they have these ones from Austria that are just ridiculously priced. But basically what this is the original Remo clip, belt clip. The Remo clip was the mass-produced version. This is the original one. And you know where we're going to list that one at? Just some discussion with dealer. We're listing that at $299, $300 for that. I mean, we sold one of those pieces for $3,000. There's one of the motor drives listed right now for $25,000 in okay shape. This guy's name has serious collector's value to it. And this piece right here was one that's very well known by him. And obviously it's marked Camcraft, Madison, Wisconsin. We've tried to get in contact with his son and try to buy some stuff. He's a very busy guy. He runs a camera repair place now, one of the most prestigious Leica repair shops. And very hard to get an appointment with him. So we've shown up there before. But anyway, there it is. Just never know what we're going to find. This is why we do this whole thing. Big money, rare accessory. It's always pretty fun. So anyway, kind of in the middle of photoing this stuff here. Once I get all those photos done, I'll show those off. But I'm back on the work. I was doing a little bit of cubing there for a little while. Take a quick break between cleaning and testing all this stuff and getting it pictured. Back on. Let's get it going. I don't really talk about cubing much on my channel, on this channel at least. But anyway, I'm pretty into the Rubik's Cube thing. And of course, the world record was broken again here on Saturday with a new world record time of 3.47 seconds, which is absolutely insane. It's nearly a second jump from the previous world record, which was 4.22 seconds, which was set like last, I don't know, a little while ago, a few months ago. And this was actually set by a very little known cuber from China at an official competition, obviously. So really crazy. Let me show you the scramble here though, and I'll show you how the solve went. It was pretty crazy, and I was just recreated this morning a little bit. I was trying to see how fast I would get this morning, and here is the scramble. That's how it looks. It looks pretty scrambled, and he did the bottom color as red. So if we do it like he did there, let me see. You gotta move it to be about there. So basically the first move was like that. Then let's see, like that, that, and let's see here. Nope. Yeah, there we go. And let's see, like that. And there you go. That was all done in 3.47 seconds. It's quite a bit shorter than other solves of the sort, or at least the average solve, I think, is around 40 moves for like a super fast solve. This one was 27 moves, so we got super lucky, but 3.47 seconds. Crazy on the Rubik's Cube. I got down to about 4.16. That's the fastest I could solve that scramble in. But of course, I knew all the moves ahead of time and all that. He actually had to come up with this solution on his own during the competition. So pretty cool. Rubik's Cube news. Okay, feeling pretty worn out after getting all these pictured and edited. But they are pictured and edited. I might go take a little nap after this. But as you can see, 240 photos, all these different items. See if I can hold it down and it'll scroll through them. It goes through a pretty rapid rate of speed there. But as you can see, lots of variety, lots of interesting items here. Let's see if there's anything super interesting. But it's all pictured up and ready to go. Ready to get a bunch of listings done today. There you go. Like I said, we're going to take a nap and then we'll get them up and listed. Okay, back up. Nap lasted a little bit longer than expected, but that was pretty good. Should have some energy to get on with the listing. Let's get into that. There you go, listing number 1, part/display, HeroFlex 22, the one I cleaned up this morning. Had more issues than I had hoped. Listed up, same as the other one there, $39.99, so a little bit extra. Cheapest one listed right now is $75, and a lot of them are sold with issues. This one's a little bit more desirable than the later Seroflex, as it is more Graflex components rather than woolen sack and some of the other stuff that the other ones were. Less of a rebadge and more of an authentic Graflex product. There we go. Listing number 3 of the day, and 2 of this stuff here. This is a Minolta 16 sub-miniature sliding spy camera. Listed up cheap, should sell quick. Okay, so even though I already listed the Minolta 16, I am not trying to identify this flash unit right here. So ones I was looking at early in the morning. Do not are not the same one as this unit right here. So I'm looking to look through Minolta 16 system and see if that happens to be it. Look at all those colors. It's pretty interesting. I didn't even know they made them in all those different colors. Chrome must have been pretty popular, and the other ones are a little bit harder to find. But anyway, on the search. It's taking a little bit. Be good to know if it's a rare one for some rangefinder camera or just a cheapo. Either way, a little bit better than the standard ones. And there you go for the first model. I believe that's our one right there. The Baby Flash fan type collapsible reflector using a BC battery, which is a battery capacitor combination like this one uses. Research into that, but I'm pretty sure that's our one. And there it is, the Minolta 16 with Baby Flash. Somebody listed one up. That is indeed the original Minolta 16 Flash unit, which kind of makes sense because we had one of the Minolta 16s there. Let's get listed up. Seems pretty hard to find. If you're looking at pricey here, it'd probably be pricey around $25. Do a quick scroll up. These are all the ones listed, and these are all the later model ones. Not a lot of the early ones, aside from that one that I showed you there. That one is the original box and everything. But once that sells out, ours will be the only one. Should sell for 25 bucks. Nothing crazy, but you just never know. You gotta look those up. There you go, listed up, $26. Got an interesting film back right here. Is a film pack back for some sort of camera. But interestingly enough, the brand name is nowhere on the outside, which is odd for these. But on the inside, manufactured by Fulmer Graflex Corporation, USA, dating that to around 1950s. And my only speculation is this must have been for a camera that was not a Graflex, and they decided to add the Graflex branding on the inside rather than the outside. It seems pretty plain. On the outside, so I was a little bit puzzled as to what that would fit. So I'll have to look into that. Should be fairly decent. As you can see, a couple different variations. This is how the Graflex film pack adapters looked for a long time. Had a pretty prominent label and had quite a bit different design than this one right here. So that's what puzzled me. And actually, looking at it here, since we have a 2 1/4 by 3 1/4 film back, I actually would think that maybe those go together. We had the Minolta 16 thing before. Looks a little bit too big, so I have to measure it, but that could be the case. Or maybe not. There you go, found one like it. Not sure exactly how that came to be. There's not any more additional information on that listing, but there it is. So I guess I'll do a little bit more research and then probably list it up at like 25 bucks. Finding more, but this one here looks like a lot earlier version of that later one there. So, still not sure. And here's something I decided to quickly look up before I list it up, is the history of their naming. As you can see, Fulmer Graflex Corporation, 1928 to 1946. Basically what this is an earlier version of the later ones. It's just before they were clearly marking them. Interesting. Most of the ones we see either would be Graflex Inc., Rochester, New York, or Graflex Inc., Division of General Precision Equipment, or Graflex Inc., Division of Singer Corporation. I've seen all three of those. I have not seen that one before. And there you go, listed up. We've had some pretty good luck in the past with some oddball, I don't know what you call it, different namings and stuff. Obviously the later ones there with the General Precision and Singer. So this one I put pre-1946, put the exact corporation, $28.99. Okay, now it's time for a bank run. Got the electric skateboard charged up, ready to go. Let's go out and back and see how long that takes. Man, it just snowed yesterday. With the 40-degree weather today, all that snow is melted and it is pretty wet out there. That electric skateboard is really good actually for rain and all that kind of stuff because it's waterproof. I want to test that out a little bit, and I got a little bit more than I bargained for, a couple of those big puddles. But it made it through just fine, worked out well. All the bank stuff is taken care of. Let's get back, now that we had a little break, to the listing. Back on the listings, Series 7 Leica Ring 16, no 18.99. Trying to read through the camera there. Okay, there's another one listed up. Minolta SR Red Angle Finder 5, $36 on that one. Okay, so kind of go off a tangent with the Norman Goldberg and Don Goldberg Leica accessory stuff. Another coffee, and we're on to this belt clip right here. There's way too much history to mention, so I guess I will just not mention it. But Camcraft, Norman Goldberg, he was a Leica accessory maker, like I mentioned before, and there's a lot of really interesting history and stuff behind that. Some of the stuff is huge money. There's a couple motor drives listed on eBay over $20,000, and then this one here, this camera for $5,600, was a M-mount converted camera with the Camcraft name on the top of it there. Only made 5 or 6 of those. So a lot of rare pieces surrounding this guy. I'm gonna have to buy one of his books here pretty soon. And this belt clip is one of the earlier ones made by that. $300. Pretty cool. Always like getting that stuff in. I said we had that one real rare accessory a while back in poor condition. We ended up selling for around $3,000. So, very desirable, hard to find stuff. And there you go, time skip. I did a random cubing meme thing for my Instagram page. This is the kind of stuff I get distracted on. Let's get back to the listing. Poe's Supper. Just finished up the Camcraft belt clip, listed up, $300. One of the interesting difficulties, maybe you're noticing, maybe you're not, with all these different listings, is they are completely different items. Every single one of them is pretty much a unique listing. Got to make sure I keep up their continuity and everything else between them, right categories, everything. Next up here, we have a Nikon focusing grip knob for the W-Nikkor Nikonos lenses. It's up at $16. So it's an easy one because I already had one of these listed. List this one a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit worse shape. This is a splitter adapter for Leica bipole flashes. Pretty hard to find accessory, and we have two of them. There we go, listing number 10, $60. Next up here, the Aetna Trix filter, listed up at $19. Another listing, Hoya Multivision filter, list this one up a little bit higher. These go pretty well, $35. Okay, I had to work and try to fix one of my younger brother's watches, but now I have another listing up here. This is a Unknown Fit TLR camera knob, listed up at $35. Really hard to tell what some of these fit. I tried testing out a couple different cameras, couldn't find a perfect fit for it. So, there you go. Should still sell. We're at the home stretch of the listing today here. We're sitting right at 7:41 p.m., but I guess you already know that with the timestamp. I'm assuming it's probably accurate on there. I am going to be working until about 10. I have to put Lizzie to bed probably 9 to 9:30ish, so it'll take 20 minutes. So basically, I have about 2 hours remaining to get a good another bunch of items listed here. So let's go head down and focus, get a bunch more of the stuff listed. That'll be the listings for today. Trying to get to bed at a reasonable time, and I have an editing project I want to get done tonight. And there are the items I just finished listing. We're now at 20. Have about an hour. Let's try and get probably 10 or 15 more done. And there you go, item number 30, $32.99 for a plastic lens hood. That's pretty crazy. We sold the last one of these for $28. This one's a little better shape and I described it a little bit better. Should sell pretty quick. $33 for a plastic lens hood, that's pretty decent. So anyway, coming to the end of the time here, I have about 18 more minutes. I'll probably try and get like 3 more items listed, but we'll see. Okay, and there we go. We can get the final count going here in a minute, but there are the final listings. I got to 35 total. So, pretty good listing day. Nothing super crazy. Got some good solid items for tomorrow still. I have 2 Polaroid backs. Rolly cable is going in the garbage. It is very deteriorated. Have a folding camera, another folding camera, another folding camera. This thing, flash gun, 2 Nikonos, another folding camera. Twin lens reflex, the Rolly hood, shade, which is pretty decent, the OM2Ed, which is minor issues. And that's going to be about it. Let me add that up, put it on the board, and then I'll end off the vlog for today. And there you go, final count, $1,424, 35 items. Guess that's going to be about it for the vlog for today. I don't think I'm going to be doing the time thing anymore, but it's just a quick experiment. I thought it'd be an interesting video, just to kind of see where my time goes. It'll be interesting to see in editing, how that all works out. Probably get this edited up tomorrow, get that up. I'm not sure about the previous vlogs to this one. There weren't a lot of them. So anyway, I guess that's about it for the vlog for today. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe below if you enjoyed. Stay tuned for another vlog tomorrow. Wheeler out. Goodbye.